Welcome into the State 48 podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Matthews. Now today, we are bringing you obviously all things AZ. And today, if you've ever been to an Arizona Cardinals or Suns game, you've seen this girl dancing on the sidelines, or perhaps Fox Sports television back in the day, and most recently in the WWE ring. Oh my gosh, cannot wait to talk about that. But this is Danielle Kamela joining us here today. Thank you so much for stopping in.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Lisa. I'm super excited to chat with you.
Oh my gosh.
We've ran into each other so many times throughout the years with our industry, so I'm excited to catch up.
All over the AZ sports scene. Again, so many run-ins. So I'm excited to finally sit down today, dig into some of these things, because honestly, I would not be surprised if like the day after tomorrow, I hear you're running for governor, or you decided to like completely move into Thailand and study, I don't know, yoga or something.
Hey,
you're just
you
so
never know. You never know.
in so many ways, which I love bringing it all together here today. But we are going to start with a fun little game.
Okay.
For starters,
All right.
just for the viewers to get to know you a little bit, I promise you, it's not too scary. It's going to be this or that, okay?
Okay.
So, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. This is a tough one to start off with.
Uh-oh.
ASU football games or Arizona Cardinals games?
Arizona Cardinals, 100%. Why? Because I prefer NFL football to college. I just always have. I know I'll get some haters on that because, you know, the college guys, they really put it out there. But
and we're both Sun Devils, by the way, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, wait, I need a fact check on that. I was pretty sure that you were Sun Devil with me.
And I was an Arizona Cardinals cheerleader.
Yes, so you have all that experience. Okay. Dancing in the NBA or the NFL?
Again, NFL. Dancing for like my favorite team and for my favorite sport. It's got to take the cake.
Okay, and I remember though, and I do know this as a former dancer, the dancing is a little different too. Which venue do you prefer? Because that's a little different.
Well, the court's a little bit more intimate. So I like that you're kind of closer to the fans, but I wasn't a trained dancer when I tried out. So
what?
Yeah. I taught myself technique, turns, all of that. I just came from like a gymnastics cheerleading background. Okay. So I only knew how to do like high V's, some like kicks, and I had to learn how to do, you know, all these dance moves. Yeah.
That is so impressive to make it at a professional level. That is, I'm kind of self-taught in that way as well.
So you get it.
In a sense, like I did grow up in classes and learning at least some technique, but it stopped. I started playing sports and I got more into other things, but I still love dancing. So that's very, very impressive. If you're in the dance world, that's amazing. Did you cheer for ASU?
No.
Or dance? No. Okay. So it was like, hey, I'm going to go out for the Cardinals.
Well, I cheered in high school, and after that I was like, I want a break. Like, I don't want to do anything. I just want to have fun in college. And then I got bored. So I decided to go out for the Cardinals.
So cool. And so mine's the opposite. I grew up dancing, made the ASU dance team, but then they implemented cheer into it. Oh, yeah. And I had never cheered in my life, the Spirit Squad. I'm like, what is this move? They were throwing me in the air. I just,
Lisa the Flyer. That's funny.
with pom-poms. Wasn't used to that, but yeah, so fun. Okay, we'll get more into that.
Okay.
Losing a bet by the hook or just losing straight up?
Oh, my God.
Just like, that's
you know, these have both happened to me many times. So that is very hard. I think I would rather lose by like one, you know, I do parlays. That's my thing. Yeah. I'd rather lose by one leg. So at least I know I'm on the right track. If I pick a bunch of losers, like what am I even doing? You know?
But it's so up in the, well, yeah. Again, we'll get to that, as my producer likes to say. Okay. AZ is sunrises or sunsets?
Oh gosh, another hard one. Both gorgeous, but I think the sunrise, just because, you know, you're starting your day. It's just like an amazing way to begin.
Yeah,
like
the colors.
Yes, but both are gorgeous, of course.
Okay, the suplex move. I did too much research into this. Or a neck breaker. And we're talking about wrestling here.
Okay, you guys, it's definitely going to be a neck breaker, but that's mainly because my finishing move is a variation of a neck breaker. I'm going to give it to Lisa at the end of this if she lets me.
Yes,
but so then you can all
see. Absolutely will. That sounds like so much fun, but not too painful, please. And that's the end of the game.
Okay.
And as you can see, it was very all over the place between dancing, sports betting, wrestling. And that's just who you are, which I love. You're so multi-talented. You have a lot of different passions. So let's get into this.
Okay.
For people who do not know who Danielle Kamela is.
Yes.
Explain. Who are you?
Okay. Well, obviously, we kind of touched on the fact I'm an Arizona girl, born and raised here. I was a cheerleader for the Cardinals, a dancer for the Suns. Currently, I do a lot of acting here in the Valley and commercial, like modeling, print work. That's always been a passion of mine. Performing in general. And that's kind of like why I loved wrestling. And aside from that, sports is like one of my number one passions. I've always been a sports fan. I grew up with 3 brothers and dad who loved, football. He actually loved college football, which is funny since I said I prefer the NFL. But
hey, you don't have to like everything our parents like.
That's true.
Did he play at all?
He did. He played at Ursinus. Okay. So I don't know if, Ursinus, a random college. But yes. So that, I guess, is kind of like me in a nutshell. I'm sure I missed some parts, but yeah.
When did you decide that you wanted, growing up, having a passion of sports, I can definitely link arms with you with that. But when did you decide you wanted to make it a part of what you did for your career and for life?
Right. In high school, I was on Firebird Word. I went to Chaparral High School, which was like our news program. Yes. So that was my first taste of like, delivering the news, and I loved it. And I was like, well, if I can pair this with sports, that would be great. So when I went to pick my major at Arizona State, I don't know what I was thinking, but I was like, maybe I'll just try psychology. That would be kind of cool. Instead of going straight into broadcast, I was like, let's give that a try. A year into it, I hated it. It was not for me. I was like, I made a big mistake.
Happens all the time in college.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So I decided to switch majors and get into sports broadcast, but my GPA wasn't there at the time. Mm-hmm. So I knew this is still what I wanted to do. My counselor that I had spoken to actually told me like, well, with this GPA, you're never going to be able to make it. I know. I like almost left that place. I did leave that place like crying. I was like, what am I going to do? I know this is like what I'm supposed to be in. I'm supposed to do sports. I'm supposed to do TV. But then after like I, sat on it, I was like, no, you got to figure out your own way. Mm-hmm. So I knew ever since then that was something I wanted to pursue in some aspect. So. Yeah.
And then how did that end up then you cheering and dancing
yes.
for 2 of the major sports teams
right
here in the Valley?
Well, actually, I've always liked dance because I was a cheerleader in high school. And so my thought was like, well, if I can do something that I love and that also gets me closer to,
action.
Closer to the action, I can watch the broadcasters. I'm sure I could soak some things up and learn. Well, I got to do that. So I went out and tried for the Arizona Cardinals cheerleaders, and I didn't make the team. And I was like,
what year was this?
This was 2007.
Okay.
So I didn't make the team, was definitely sad about that. I'm like, well, you know what? It's fine. I'll go out and I'll try out for the Phoenix Suns dance team.
Why not?
Right. And kind of what I said earlier, I didn't have a trained background. So I was kind of trying to teach myself at the time. So I went out for those tryouts and I didn't make it again. And I was like, oh, shoot. I was like, all right, this plan is already backfiring.
What was it like in the audition what's it called? Performances and all of that? Because you're going through, obviously, the audition, learning the dances. Right. Did it feel like, was it coming at you fast, or did you feel like you had a good hold at that point when you're auditioning?
It was definitely coming at me fast because...
Oh, I've been in those auditions. I know it's like 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah,
and then
I'm like, this isn't high school cheer. This is like, even like with NFL, it's still dance, you know? Yep. I mean, it's like not as specific, you know, like NBA, but it was still dance. So I was like shook. I was like, could not keep up. You know, I was just nervous and I was blanking. That was probably like my problem. So, you know, failed 2 times and I was like, all right, well, okay, what am I going to do now? And then the next season rolls around. I was like, okay, you can't just give up on this. Yeah. And I was like 20. So it's like, I still have time to be this NFL cheerleader. So I went out a second time for the Cardinals and ended up making it. Wow. So, and I was so excited. I was so happy. And it turned out even better because that ended up being Super Bowl season.
That's what I was adding up here. I'm like, you're right there for that Super Bowl team and got to experience all of that.
So like for professional cheer, that's like the top of the top, right? We can't get any better than that.
No, so it all worked out. And then you did Suns after?
Yes. So I did Cardinals for 2 seasons. And then I was like, well, let's just check another one of these things, off my box. So then I went and I did the Suns. So I was able to have both of those experiences, which was great. And then to mesh this all together, Fox Sports Arizona ended up seeing me do some camera work for the Suns while I was a dancer.
I think I remember that back in the day.
Because you were already working there, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Were you an intern at that time? Because you were a little younger than me. Yeah, okay. So they ended up calling me and having me try out for this new promotion, which was called Fox Sports Arizona Girls, and we connected the fans to all of the Arizona local teams. We did on-air commercials. We did some different hosting things. So at that point, I was like, all right, counselor. I got into sports.
Exactly. Proved you wrong. Plus, your GPA, come on, that does not even equivalent to like what you actually do in the field, actually working in your career.
My plan was to have fun that first year, so I did. So the GPA wasn't there.
Are you like a bucket list person where you just write a whole bunch of things down? You're like, hey, let's check this off. Let's do this.
I should write them down. I definitely am a bucket list person, but like most of it is up here.
Yeah. Like I'm going to go for this and dance for the Phoenix Suns. How many years did you do that?
Just 1 season, because then Fox Sports called me and I was like, all right, my goal here is done. My job here is done. I've done what I needed to do.
Wow.
So, but they were both like amazing experiences, both great organizations.
And being able to be, I'll never forget it in my dance days for ASU. And granted, we did not have the best of years during those days, but, just being there so close to the action, remembering just such memorable moments, in games and stuff. What are some for you that stick out through your time on the sidelines for both organizations?
Oh my gosh. I mean, so many. Like you said, being up close and in the action, there's nothing like it, especially when you're a fan. So that's probably why I preferred NFL more, is because I'm more of a football fan. So for me, I guess I would have to say that Super Bowl game, because it's just like an experience that not a lot of people get to have, of course. Even though the Steelers fans were really rude to us, I'm not going to lie, we got things thrown at us. So I will always...
So rude.
Always, hate the them. Steelers. Yes.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of it. But that definitely was probably the best experience, even though not the best outcome, which I still think about all the time, and I will rewatch that game anytime it's on TV. Just not that.
Did you get to see the toe dragging?
Yeah,
out?
and I'm telling you, I was there. I should have been like, on the ground, like looking closer so I could really prove it. But yeah, I only saw.
Do you ever pop up in like some of these iconic photos and pictures from that year in the background?
I'm trying to think. There might have been like one where I knew it was me, but they're focused on the players. You're just like a blurry dot in the background.
Back there. You're like, I was
that's
there.
Me.
That's me. I always watch back on like NFL films. Like, can I? No, I'm like down there, like writing my notes or like freaking out on the sidelines, which you can't obviously when you're a journalist being professional on the sidelines. But I mean, so much of your fandom comes out and you're like, I just want to cheer, and remembering these moments and everything like that. But as a cheerleader, you get to jump around and
you can live in that moment.
Live in that moment forever.
Even though you have to like smile when you're not doing well either. That's kind of hard.
I would not. Yeah, I remember those days. Again, ASU, I've had a lot of those moments.
Right, you went through it.
I went through it. So acting, hosting, dancing, being on television, what would you say for you has stuck out to be like the most satisfying of those experiences?
It's hard to pick just one. I think just the ability to entertain and the ability to storytell throughout all of that, because I could book like a very small commercial. It could be like, oh, you're just this woman shopping at the grocery store with her kids. You're still like telling a story within that little commercial. So being able to have a lot of different experiences where I can kind of entertain and storytell as well, I think, is satisfying to me. And I have so many things like left to do. So it's like, maybe next time we talk, I'll have that aha, like, no, this was the most satisfying thing, you know?
Exactly. But it's hard when you have so many different passions, right? And you want to kind of be everywhere and do it all. How do you focus in on like one thing to perfect in a sense, right?
That's true. And I think about this a lot because I do have a lot of interest. And I think a lot of people are like that, especially if you...
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to, especially when you're doing and you have a passion for storytelling, because you, like you said, you can express that through dance. You can do a podcast. You can be on television and do a commercial and still have that. So I think there's ways to find like fine tuning that within all these different things that you do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I like listen to all these podcasts that kind of give advice on that. And everyone says, you know, something a little different. So I have yet to perfect that. That's still something I'm like working on because, you know, the world is limitless. Yeah. So, you know, we could do anything.
Yeah. So you're having so much fun along the journey, which brings us to your WWE. Yes. And again, I remember... I think I was catching up with someone at Fox Sports and maybe one of our old producers, and he was like, "Oh, did you see Danielle's in WWE?" And I'm like, "Wait, what? Are you kidding me? Like, so that's random, so cool." So in a world that I don't know too much about, so I would love you to educate us all, and I'm sure there's a lot of WWE fans, but take us through that journey. What sparked the idea to do this? I'm sure it's very similar to, hey, I'm going to audition for the Suns and the Cardinals and stuff like that, but what sparked this journey for you in the WWE world?
Well, I always grew up a fan, like as a kid. My grandpa... our family is Samoan. So like that's what The Rock is. So we grew up watching him.
I love him.
He's the best, right? So I had 3 younger brothers and we would always watch wrestling with my grandpa. And I remember thinking like, oh, this would be really, really cool. Like back in the day. Stopped watching. I feel like as we grow up, a lot of people, this happens with wrestling where you're like, oh, this is kind of silly. I don't know why I even watched it. Yeah. But when I got older, I saw that they were having like these WWE divas, like, you know, the Bella twins, because I'm not sure if they still live here. They're all over the place. I don't think
they live here, but yeah,
They were here. So I would see them and I'm like, you know what, this would actually be the perfect like thing for me to do. But I thought it was so far-fetched because who actually thinks like, I'm going to be a professional wrestler? I thought it was so ridiculous. And I was like, but it would be cool. So I always kind of like had that thought. After my time at Fox Sports, I was like, all right, well, let's move out to LA, try the LA thing, see how it goes. Since right now I'm not, you know, tied down to anything. So I went out to LA and I saw a casting call and it was for this reality TV show. And the reality TV show was called Tough Enough. The whole premise of this show is that there's, you know, 10 guys, 10 girls, and you compete to win a WWE contract.
Wow.
And I was like, I never wanted to do reality TV. That's not what I like thought for myself. But if I could win a WWE contract, so worth it. So I auditioned for the show. And they were like, we don't want you on the show. Their reasoning was like, you just seem like you're not like crazy enough. And I was like, well, I can be crazy.
I can
like,
be crazy?
You want me to be crazy?
I'll show you crazy. Yeah. Oh, Lord.
So they were like, you know, we don't want you for the reality TV show, but we want you to come back and actually audition to be you know, signed with us. And I was like, oh, perfect. Okay. I got to nail this audition.
Oh, so you had to be like reality TV show crazy, not like wrestling crazy.
Yes.
That's what they were. Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually maybe a compliment. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Because you're still playing you're playing a character as a professional wrestler. So for this reality TV, I think they just wanted, you know,
crazy.
What you see on reality TV. So I guess I didn't show them enough of that. But that's besides the point. I ended up, you know, getting asked to come in and do a tryout. So at this point I was like, all right, well, I better find a wrestling school and see if I actually like this. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'm like, how do you prepare for a tryout for that?
And I knew kind of what they did in the tryout because for the tryout for Tough Enough, you had to do, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. They're having us like clean and press with like 25s on the side. I'm like, I don't even know what a clean and press is. I wasn't like a super big weightlifter then. So it was really hard. A lot of drills where they're having you blow up. So you're like running the ropes as fast as you can for like a minute, then going to the next ring, a minute, then doing rolls. So you're like dizzy. So I ended up finding a wrestling school in LA to make sure I liked it. And my trainers there were Rikishi. If you know wrestling, you know Rikishi's this big old Samoan dude. He used to wear a thong, put his butt in people's faces. Yeah, it was great. And then Gangrel, who was a vampire back in the day. And then also Black Pearl, who is another Samoan guy who is really good at what he does. So
I didn't even know this all existed. Like, is this like an underworld of...
It does sound like it when I say those characters. You know what I mean?
A vampire trained me for...
Oh, yeah. He like would spit out blood. What? It was amazing. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I trained with them for a couple of weeks, which turned into like a few months before I did my tryout. And I was like, okay, I can do this. So I did my tryout. They liked me. I got signed. And then I moved to Orlando after a year of being in LA.
That's insane. So what did that training entail? Because there's a little bit of acting mixed in. Obviously, you have to know the moves at a high level and what you're doing and the safety behind it as well, I'm sure.
Right. And you mean the training once I got there, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. It was brutal because we were training Monday through Friday, every day in the ring. It would be 3 hours a day, and they taught us from the ground up. So we're learning things like how to chain wrestle, which is just like the basics. They really instilled the basics in us. Mm-hmm. And then also, you would create your own moves. Like you could do some crazy flippy stuff, or you can do some more dangerous, like punching stuff. Like it was kind of like up to us to figure out what kind of moveset we wanted. And then also we had promo class where we would like cut different promos and kind of develop a character. And then we would weight lift every day for about an hour.
Wow.
And then on the weekends, we would do shows Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night all over the state of Florida.
Oh, my God.
So it was really intense. Yes.
So how was Vanessa born?
Yes, Vanessa Bourne. So my character was a villain.
Okay.
And she was very artsy and, a seductress. Like I would call myself like a work of art because I would try to just present this image that was kind of like perfection, except under the surface, she was very overly into herself, stuck up, kind of thought she was better than everyone else and would let her anger get the best of her in certain situations. Okay. Yes. Wow. So that's what I created.
And you came up with that yourself.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Do they give you any direction, or is it kind of like, here, go with it? What's your style?
Yes and no. Like everyone kind of comes up with their own little shtick and then it's tweaked and like adjusted depending. But this was all while we were learning at the Performance Center, which is a training center that everyone starts at before you go to the main roster, which is like Raw or SmackDown.
Okay.
And then when you get up there, they give you a lot more direction on your character. They're very specific. So
yeah. So you just created this image.
Yes, which was it was so fun to be a bad guy. That was like my favorite part.
Yeah, I think I would probably choose that. I need to come up with a name though. You got me thinking over here. I could do the W.
I know. I'm like, what would your name
but
be?
It would definitely be, I don't know. It would definitely be something like,
actually,
spicy.
Yeah, probably. I met I wrestled this girl recently and she was like a mom and she called herself like the mom in charge or like something like that. And she'd be like, I'm going to discipline you. That was like her whole thing.
So now I'm inspired to become a WWE wrestler.
Yeah.
So in the midst of training and, the exhilaration of then performing / fighting, right? Mm-hmm. So what was that whole experience like, just going through the midst? Because those sound like very intense days. And then to be put on camera and perform at that high level as well.
Yeah, it was definitely exhilarating and so much fun, especially taking on like a persona to kind of bring out there. But with wrestling, there was so much more that went into it that I never would have even thought about it. Like there's a pace to the matches. You tell a story in the ring, back to the storytelling thing, it's always good guy versus bad guy. And that's, of course the audience wants the good guy to win. So there's all of those nuances within, wrestling in general and within the match. So, but for me, I think I just had the most fun, like laughing around in the ring with like other opponents. Like I did a lot of tag wrestling and that was so much fun because you had a partner, you know what I mean? So, coming up with different strategies and things like that on how you can win, and then crafting stories online as well, because with any business now, the storytelling goes to Twitter, it goes to Instagram. So being able to play that throughout social media as well was so much fun and like a great creative outlet.
Yeah, and you have quite the following. Do people still just like call you Vanessa, or just come for you just for the character that you were?
Definitely. Yeah. So sometimes I feel kind of bad because I have so many fans from my time in WWE, and I'm not, you know, after I got released, I kind of was like going through this thing where I was like, what do I post? Like, who am I now? I've spent like 6 years in this bubble and like playing this character, and I didn't know like what to do or like who to be, which sounds so weird.
No, but you're literally playing a character.
Right.
Day in, day out. You are Vanessa in so many ways. You have to try to be her.
Right.
In all the ways. So I'm sure it's hard to like turn that off and then figure out.
It was, because like I didn't post like a lot of personal things when I was my character. I didn't let a lot of people into that because I wanted to put up this like facade for them, because I think that makes it more fun. Like even sports, I didn't really talk about sports when I was a wrestler. It was all that. So once I was done, I was like, oh my God, like what is my social media now? Like, what do I want to put out there? And that was really hard for me to like figure out and rediscover.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. And so I do feel bad for the people who followed me for Vanessa, because she's kind of dead, you know, she's, you know,
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Well, maybe she'll be brought back to life. We'll see.
You never know.
Stay tuned. I don't know. Do you have anything in the works? That's my segue into what's coming up.
Well, I never, like with wrestling, I haven't like officially given it up, and I will wrestle like here and there depending on the situation, but I'm also trying to do a lot of other things. So because I gave wrestling so much of my time, like it would be hard for me to be like, all right, no, we're still going to like push through and like train every day. You know, I put in so much time and effort. So, I won't say no that I'll never, you know, wrestle again or anything like that, because it's still an interest and a passion of mine, but there's no immediate, like, I'm returning next, you know what I mean? There's no like immediate like plans.
Yeah. It sounds like also it's not something you wake up or you dream of as a child, say one day I'm going to be a wrestler. Like you said, it sounds cool, but to actually have it come to life, what to you was, has been the most, you know, what have you learned the most from that experience that you can carry on in whatever you do next?
Ooh, that is a great question. I guess it's something we would say like after every match, and it's like you're only as good as your last match, which means like you can fail like so many times. You can have all of these like trash matches, things can go wrong, but you know, you'll have another one. And I guess I can kind of compare that to things in life where it's like you can keep pushing through. There's always going to be something else. And so to compare yourself to all the things that like happened before is irrelevant. Like you got to just keep moving forward and working off the last thing you've done. So I guess that's a piece of advice I've always thought of and applied in my real life. It's like, no, you're only as good as your last match. So say I had a horrible day yesterday. Okay, whatever. I can change it today.
I love that. I love that. Now for you, being obviously a wrestling pro, this is probably a really dumb question because I did not grow up watching, but I have seen, you know, some matches, and I obviously followed some of your journey. Now, question is, are the matches staged as in who the winner is going to be, the loser, or is it pretty fluid in that? Or does it depend match to match? I don't know.
It does depend match to match. Like sometimes, I mean, most of the time, you know what the story is, so you kind of know who's going to win and who's going to lose because you know the story you're trying to tell. But sometimes, you know, who knows what's going to go on in that ring. Things could go wrong, things could change, and then maybe the outcome of the match would change.
Wow.
So
what's the craziest match that you've been involved in?
Oh my gosh, the craziest match. My favorite type of matches were mixed tag team matches. I love working with the guys just because I feel like I learned a lot from them, and you can kind of be a little more aggressive with them. Well, at least that's what I kind of thought. I don't try to like be less aggressive to women versus men, but like sometimes I'm going to lay it into the boys a little bit more than I would.
That is amazing. I would love to do that.
Yes, that was like so much fun.
Oh my gosh. So you would have different matches, but it would be mixed with
Yeah. So my tag partner would be a guy, and then we're working against another tag that's a female and a male. Okay. So that was a lot of fun.
Did you ever get hurt?
Yes. I mean, it's hard to tell, but like this finger like can't go down. I had a boxer's fracture, so it's always like just sticking up. Okay. Very bizarre. So very bizarre. Yeah. And then like other things like here and there. So you do want to think of those things like when it comes, like if you had recently, I don't know, sprained your wrist or something like that, or just getting back, I would probably, try not to like give you a bunch of wrist locks, things like that to keep your opponents safe.
Yeah. Well, you're throwing around a lot of like moves, and we were laughing before the show because I had asked you a question on a couple of moves that I Googled.
Yes.
But tell us what some of your, like maybe your top 5 moves are to do on an opponent.
My top 5 moves. So back to neck breakers. I love anything on the neck. I like working the neck. I feel like it's the most devastating to see like a neck get twisted or, things like that. So there's a few variations of neck breakers I like to use. I like to give headbutts. In wrestling, if you're Samoan, like you have a hard head. So my headbutt should affect everyone unless they're Samoan. Like you should be like on the mat for sure. So I would love to give headbutts. There is like a springing, twisting elbow drop I like to do off the ropes. I feel like I need like a tutorial here to like show people this is what these are.
Not big enough. Next time.
Yeah.
Next time we're going to have a whole spread.
You guys are going to add a wrestling ring in here? This is awesome.
Why not? Like, we're dreaming big over here. So those are your favorite moves. What's your finisher you talk about?
Yes. So my finisher is like an underhooked neck breaker. So basically, if you were like bent over, I'd just come underneath, hook your neck, and we'd spin together and you'd land on your back. I know it's hard to picture, but actually when this podcast comes out, I'll post a video and be like, this is what I was talking about, guys.
We need the full thing, the tutorial. Now, as a female wrestler, okay, what is it like, and this could be too personal, but what is it like out there dating in the world and you're like, yo, I could probably beat your ass?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Real question, because I mean, I would flaunt that all day.
Well, it's funny because when I was actually wrestling, like you do kind of live in this bubble. So a lot of wrestlers end up dating each other, end up getting married. There are so many wrestling couples. Personally, I didn't want to end up with a wrestler just because I like to have someone. It must be nice, yes, to work with like your spouse and everything like that. But I want some balance there, like you have a life, I have a life. Then we come together and we talk about our other sides of our lives, versus like we do everything together and,
we wrestle every night together.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't imagine it. Yeah. I couldn't imagine it just being my life. Like, Yeah. I need some like calm. But anyways, so yeah, dating during that time was like non-existent. So
you're so busy too.
Yeah, you're so busy. So you don't like think about it too much. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people do say it gets lonely. I can see that because, you're just wrestling and then you're traveling and then you're home. It's just like a cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So now that I'm out, it's time to go. I'm just kidding.
This has turned into a dating podcast. Now, what we do see from you, specifically me as I follow you on your journey, a lot of sports betting and talking. We talk a lot from time to time about our parlays, and I'm getting advice from you because this is something that you've really like gone all in on
for sure
of recent. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. So sports betting has been legal here in the state of Arizona for, I want to say like a little over a year. And once I found out that it was becoming legal, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting because...
Were you betting before?
I was, but not a lot of sports. Like when I'd go to Vegas, I'd do like a few sports bets here and there, but I didn't have like a bookie or anything like that. But I love gambling in general. That is, whether that's good or bad, I love it. I love going to Vegas.
Yes.
It's so close to Arizona. So that's always a trip I like to do. I think I used to go like once a month, like for a while. So when I realized that it was becoming legal here and I could just do it on my phone through these apps, I was like, oh, absolutely. I need to learn about this. I need to know all the lingo. And I'm still like learning. I'm a year in, but I have a lot of friends now in the sports betting world who I've met like on Twitter and like on Instagram. Yeah. And I think it just makes the game a lot more fun. I know some people would say it makes it like more stressful. But I try to make sure I'm betting only the amount that, I'm comfortable losing, which that is my betting advice to everyone. That is the smart way to bet. But I've definitely had like some good hits. I've had cold streaks of like 3 weeks. So it's been a journey, but
that's kind of when I fell off, just like parlay after parlay. And I'm just like, okay, you know what? I need to build myself back up here.
It's so true.
It's hard because it's luck. Sometimes it's luck.
Right. And like last year I was betting football season a lot differently. I would bet very high on like overs, unders, just the game straight up. Like I think I bet on James Conner scoring a touchdown like every game last season.
That wasn't a bad bet, though.
No, it wasn't. There was one game I went to and I bet for him to score 2 and I was there and I got to see that like cash in person. So I was like, yeah. So that's always
on top
fun.
of the world and then boom.
Yeah, but now I'm a parlay queen and that's like all I bet. Like, so
I think that's my choice too. It makes it more fun.
It
and
does.
You're kind of like on the edge of your seat waiting for another game to close or a player to hit something. So
absolutely. It's so much fun.
Like the segment, Bad Beats. You know that segment?
Yes.
You watch from time to time? Okay, so what would be your worst beat?
Oh my gosh.
You've ever experienced?
I guess it would be during NBA season. I would play so many prop bets during the season. And that was probably my biggest win as well, was during NBA season. But I think it was like a 12-leg parlay and one of them didn't cash. And it was by, I want to say it was Jason Tatum, and he needed to score one more basket. And they took him out with like 1 minute left.
Oh, I hate that.
And literally the shot he made before was like, he wasn't even trying. So I was just like,
there goes.
Yeah, that was my worst beat, was a 12-legger. And I was really excited. But
I'm pretty superstitious though. Like it's hard for me to place bets on my teams and my players. Like I was doing it for a bit with the Suns down the stretch, that playoff stretch. And then I just stopped because I'm like, I'm the one that's making them lose everything.
Right.
So I don't know. Are you pretty superstitious with your bets or are you just kind of...
Definitely. I'm definitely superstitious with my bets. So if I am going to bet the Cardinals, I'm going to make sure it's a week where I'm confident in them winning, or I'll just take a chance anyways, because I'm like, I'm not going to bet against them because I want them to win. Why would I ever do that? Or I'll bet prop bets where I want the players to get over. So I'm like rooting for them, to do well. I would never bet their unders.
But I feel like emotions get in the way sometimes, at least for me.
Oh, yeah, of course.
My connection,
Of course. But with the Cardinals, I have to also think of it like, okay, if their bets don't cash, you can't be upset. This is like your team. You
just ride with it.
Yes,
just go with
absolutely.
It. Oh my gosh, such a journey. So going from dancing on the sidelines to on the television, acting, WWE, now a little bit of sports betting. Seriously, you could follow her on Twitter and it's commentary all the time. I love following your parlays and even trying to like copy some of them just to see like, okay, let me see if that works for me. It's fun.
I know, right?
It's a lot of fun. So what's next for you?
Well, right now I do a lot of content creation on my own account. Like I have kind of dabbled in comedy a little bit. So
I saw that. So stand up?
Yes, I hosted my first stand up and did a little bit in the beginning, which was definitely nerve-wracking, but a lot of fun. I love comedy. I love laughing. I mean, it's a medicine.
Yeah.
So I think with my sports content, like I really am trying to mix in comedy with it as well. I want it to be more entertainment style versus like, something that's way too serious. I like to like keep it light, but also educational. So that's kind of what I enjoy. And then also acting right now is picking up here in the state of Arizona. Usually this is like a busy season. So getting more involved with that as well. And then just a bunch of other things that just come up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We can always see you rocking that State 48 gear. You're such a good friend.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, I'm obsessed with this company. It's
so
literally the best.
Why and what about State 48 makes it important for you to represent that?
Besides it being themed around the state that I love, the state that I'm proud of, that I grew up in, also because of their passion for entrepreneurship. Mike and Nicholas have been on such an awesome journey when you follow their story to see, because I did like the first photo shoot with State 48 ever. And I remember we were like, I think it was at Tempe Town Lake. We just had like a little changing tent out there, like the first original designs, and to see how far they've come is absolutely insane. And then also to what they do for the community, because I think any business, you know, local business, giving back to the community and the people that support you is so important. And I know they have also offered, like, you know, they'll have like grants for different entrepreneurs and businesses. So just to see the support all around is like the best. I mean, the clothes are really cool, but like everything else behind it is, you know, what really takes it over the top.
And now you're sitting here on a podcast, Day 48.
Oh, yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. How can people follow you in your amazing journey? Again, stay plugged in, because who knows what you're going to do next. I love it.
Instagram, I'm probably the most active on. It's at Danielle Kamela. And then Twitter, at Danielle_Kamela.
All right. We'll follow her for all the good sports bets to put in. You're detached from the outcome. She's just here for the advice and the fun.
Don't blame me if anything goes wrong. It's just for fun.
All right. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And we will see you next week.